The plot of Where Winds Meet draws deeply from history, but it is not historical fiction in the strict sense, like Kingdom Come, Deliverance. Instead, it belongs to the lineage of Assassin's Creed or Metal Gear Solid, an alternate universe narrative that reshapes real events, figures, and geopolitical tensions to serve its wuxia-inflected world-building. What follows is an account of the first section of the chapter Heaven Has No Peer in Ching Ha, set in the year 962 CE. Ching Ha lies in the southeastern part of modern Hebei, under the jurisdiction of Qingtai City. During the Five Dynasties and the early Song, the era in which the game is set, it served for a long period as the administrative center of Bei Prefecture, a place renowned for its rugged, iron-willed inhabitants. Its selection as the story's opening stage owes as much to fiction as to history. Ching Ha is also the birthplace of Wu Song from Water Margin, the 14th century novel about a peasant uprising in the Song dynasty, one of the foundational works that helped shape the wuxia tradition. Your journey begins at Jianghu Legacies' old hut, tucked away in a bamboo grove on the outskirts of Ching Ha. You lived there until the age of 10, before moving closer to Aunt Han's blissful retreat. Ever since Uncle Jiang disappeared 3 years ago, when you were 13, you have seldom returned. Thus, sneaking out with little Ruby, you hardly expect to encounter a man in black whose martial skill eclipses your own. He steps from the shadows to challenge you, not a duel so much as a test, the way a master gauges a disciple, then reaches for the Zhengguan jade you have worn since infancy. With effortless precision, he takes it and sends you collapsing into unconsciousness, though uninjured. Perhaps he acts to protect you, for the pendant has proven a magnet for trouble ever since the prologue 16 years past. Though jade is usually written with the character U, the Zhengguan jade is in fact Zhengguan Jue, where Jue denotes a pair of jades joined as one. Its very name hints at its nature, one half of a twinned jade, imbued with the power to steady, subdue, or anchor a sovereign mandate, an undercurrent that will surface again later in the Hussey storyline. Ruby wakes you with brisk smacks, scolding you for nodding off instead of visiting the general's shrine. She helps you slip past Aunt Han, ever vigilant in shielding you from the Jianghu beyond, so you can breathe a little of the outside world while she visits the merchant caravan for new storybooks. In the Chinese version, she calls you Laoda, a casual title for the eldest, or the de facto, boss. It seems that, growing up around Heaven's Pier, you have naturally become the ringleader of the neighborhood children. Before leaving, you search the hut once more, hoping the man in black has left some trace behind. Aside from the dragon pattern at the doorway, you notice that the memorial tablet honoring Uncle Jiang's adoptive father has been freshly cleaned. More importantly, you discover a letter addressed to Uncle Jiang from someone surnamed Wei, reporting that the zombie-like dream puppets have resurfaced in southern Tang, where his disciple Tianying is now stranded and in need of help. At the door, Ruby uncovers your old spear, the one Uncle Jiang crafted for you when you first pleaded to learn martial arts. You pick it up with a touch of nostalgia, then set off with her. But before you can leave the bamboo grove, you encounter Feng Jisheng, a disciple of the ink-bound order. He offers you a lesson in archery and warns you of a bandit called Killerblade who has been prowling around Ching Ha. Feng Jisheng's recurring presence may be an homage to a historical figure briefly recorded in the Song history. In the 5th month of the 3rd year of Kaibao, 970 CE, the clerks of the Ministry of War, Feng Jisheng and others, presented a method for fire arrows. They were ordered to test it and were rewarded with clothing and silk. Their design eventually evolved into the gunpowder whip arrows described in the Wujing Zongyao, incendiary arrows launched by mechanical means with a gunpowder charge at the tip that ignites mid-flight. You will hear more about Big Feng's obsession with crafting fire arrows later on, when the two of you venture into the Mohist Hills. As the carts and carriages of Beard Guang's merchant caravan rumble toward the shrine from afar, Ruby darts off to greet them, leaving you behind. You choose not to chase after her just yet. With Killerblade's name fresh in your mind and a nagging sense that something in Ching Ha has shifted, you decide to linger and take a closer look around the region. Walking down the path behind the low cliff, you come upon several bodies sprawled across the road, their blood still fresh. A closer look reveals who they were, a branch of the Oriat Pavilion, their attire matching that of the assassins lurking in the bamboo grove near the hut, should you approach it from the other side. However, you have not yet heard the organization's name, nor do you know what their presence portends. The dragon pattern left at the hut was likely their doing, marked with the very same emblem. Yet for what purpose? Whatever occurred 16 years ago is beginning to surface again, stirring the undercurrents of the Jianghu in ways that hint at an approaching crisis, one still invisible to most. Looking past the blood-soaked earth and the tattered banners of the Northern Vow, you spot the one responsible for felling the men in black. A masked figure standing beside a shadow puppet booth. And being the fearless troublemaker who has long dreamed of becoming a martial master and a hero of the Jianghu, you challenge him without hesitation. The price is steep, but experience has tempered your blade. You prevail in the end. Only then do you learn the truth. They are two people, not one. The brothers Sheng Wen and Sheng Wu, whom you knew in childhood as two of the 8 heroes of Heidong, the warriors who once stood sentinel over Ching Ha during the Khitan invasions. Haunted by the long, echoed cries of battle and the friends they could not save, the brothers still linger in these lands, guarding them with the same vigilance that defined their youth. The Northern Vow endures as well, even after the death of its founder, General Wang Qing, 16 years ago. Some of its remnants gather not far from here, at the site where you learn the Panacea Fan. Under the instruction of a disciple of the Silver Needle sect, wandering warriors continue to train, unwilling to relinquish their dream of reclaiming the lost lands of Yanyun. Perhaps Uncle Jiang, too, has pursued that dream in silence. Otherwise, he would never have chosen to remain in this place while raising you. After offering you a nod of approval, for a duel well met, Sheng Wen and Sheng Wu fade into the deepening dusk. You wander deeper into the verdant wilds until you come upon another stranger resting beside a crumbling ruin. He introduces himself as one of the wayfarers, a band of travelers who roam the world, recording their journeys and charting the lands they cross. From him, you acquire a map of the region and a Wulin journal, perhaps at the cost of a few coins. As you turn to leave, he begins to sing a song about time flowing over an unchanged landscape. A sudden, inexplicable swell of emotion rises in you, compelling you to hurry back and ask why he has come to Ching Ha. His answer is vague, tinged with something like prophecy, a hint of what is to unfold at this year's first jar banquet. You cannot yet fathom his meaning. At his request, you chase away the bear lounging beneath a nearby tree, though not before learning a few Tai Chi movements from it. With this newfound skill, you send the bear tumbling into the mound of stones blocking your path, revealing a hidden treasure chest and a note tucked behind it. The note explains that the bear learned Tai Chi from a practitioner who, bound by his master's rules, was forbidden to teach the art to another person. Amused by the loophole, he taught it to a bear instead, wondering whether one day a passerby might learn the skill from the bear in turn. On your way to the general's shrine, your steps are halted once more, this time by a man stuck in the rubble, breathlessly trying to escape the bear you encountered earlier. You pull him free, and he introduces himself as Si Sheng. He remarks, almost offhandedly, that you remind him of someone from 16 years ago, yet says nothing more. In thanks, he explains the oddities scattered throughout the region and how to uncover them. By this point, you may have noticed that sound is emerging as a recurring motif in the game. Si Sheng's very name echoes the game's Chinese title Yanyun Shiliu Sheng, 16 tones of Yanyun, where Sheng may mean sound, voice, or tone. Yanyun clearly refers to the 16 prefectures ceded to the Khitan, as we have explained in the previous videos, but why does the title replace the character for prefectures with tones? The shift draws on a historical coincidence. Both the number of prefectures in Yanyun and the number of tones in the ancient ceremonial tonal system governing court ritual music is 16. This tonal framework comprises 6 primary Yang Liu, 6 primary Yin Liu, and 4 auxiliary Qingsheng. It bears a distant resemblance to the modern solfege scale in that it organizes pitch in structured conceptual units. In several musical treatises and Qin tablatures from the Song dynasty, this collective system is referred to as the Shiliu Sheng, the 16 tones, echoing the title of the game, even though the concepts behind Yang Liu, Yin Liu, and tones are not precisely equivalent. In the game's lore, it is Wang Pu, a counselor under Emperor Chairong, who integrates the 4 auxiliary Qingsheng from secular musical practice into the court's standardized 12 pitches, thus producing a unified 16-tone system. A record of this event can be found in the Jianghu guidebook left behind by Uncle Jiang. In historical records, Wang Pu's contribution lies in the creation of a new Liu Jun, a standard instrument for pitch. At once a physical device and a theoretical framework for fixing tonal norms through mathematical calculation. His method later shaped the song court's development of instruments suited to a 16-tones system. Fittingly, the game preserves this legacy within its mechanics. One of the materials used to enhance your gear is named Liu Jun stone in the original Chinese, and the act of upgrading equipment is pointedly called tuning. Yet the incorporation of the four Qingsheng was not the accomplishment of a single theory. It emerged from more than a century of experimentation beginning even before the song. There is, however, another reason the game replaces prefectures with tones beyond mere numerical coincidence, one encapsulated in a famous line from the Zuozhuan, a foundational text of Confucian political and moral thought and among the earliest works of narrative prose. The great affairs of a state lie in ritual ceremonies and military affairs. This dictum articulates the governing logic of early China, where ritual authority and military power formed the twin pillars of statecraft. Within such a framework, ritual music became a central political and ideological practice, one demanding moderation and precision. Its pitches were grounded in the Yanglu and Yinlu scales, ensuring that when the court performed rites to heaven and earth, the tones they produced aligned with the principles of ritual propriety. As a reward for collecting the first oddity, you are granted the opportunity to learn your first martial art beyond Zhang Wulang's nameless sword and nameless spear. You may also receive an in-game mail containing a Stormbreaker spear scroll and a letter from Shi Zhuge, head of the Raging Tide sect. In it, he recalls that General Wang Qing once rendered him a great service, and that your deeds in Ching Ha have stirred the same memory, enough that he hopes you too may one day rise to the stature of a true hero. You cross the stream toward the general's shrine and immediately stumble upon a group of bandits scheming to kidnap you for ransom from Han Seang Swine, your foster mother and the proprietor of Blissful Retreat. Half irritated and half amused, you draw your blades and dispatch all three bandits with ease. These petty outlaws are labelled Greenwood Marauders, or Greenwood Pests. But the term Greenwood, rendering the Chinese Lulin, means far more than the wilderness they hide in. The word reaches back to the 1st century CE, at the waning of the Western Han, when the peasant insurgents led by Wang Kuang and Wang Feng established their base on Lulin Mountain, modern-day Dehong Mountain in Hubei. History remembers them as the Lulin Army, literally the Army of the Greenwood. In later eras, armed bands who gathered to resist official tyranny or who acted as Robin Hood-esque outlaws were likewise called Lulin. Yet these groups were not always heroic. Many so-called Greenwood bands also engaged in looting and wanton violence, giving the term a second life as a symbol of chaos and lawlessness, an association closer to how it is used here. Ching Ha really is overflowing with all sorts of people as the year's first jar banquet draws near, you murmur to yourself. And as if the chaos so far weren't enough, you run into two horse thieves lurking beneath the stairs that lead up to the general's shrine. Your skills easily outmatch theirs, but the thieves manage to flee. Even so, you secure the horses for the merchants before finally stepping through the shrine's gates. According to one of the stone steles, the general's shrine was once a Buddhist temple, later rebuilt into a memorial for a nameless general under the direction of a local monk named Miao Shan in the first year of Kaiyun, 944 CE. We would learn later that Miao Shan was, in truth, Tian Ying, who had assumed the identity of a monk at the request of Emperor Chai Rong. Yet in that year, Tian Ying had not yet encountered Chai Rong. Whether this is a simple anachronism or the echo of a deeper secret remains unanswered. A townswoman named Fang Niang informs you that Ruby has already paid for you to enter a match hosted by Old Jin, a merchant who introduces himself as Jin Shanhai. Fang Niang's children call out to you, dramatically of course, declaring that you are the strongest fighter at Heaven's Pier, bold enough even to catch geese. You accept the challenge and face Fang Shu in a match where the two of you vie to exhaust each other's qi. Originally, qi was understood as the fundamental substance from which all things arise, a flowing, continuous life energy that constitutes the world. Building on this conception, the Song Dynasty philosopher Zhang Zai developed a system known as qi shui, the study of qi, declaring, "The void is formless, yet it is the very substance of qi. Its gathering and dispersing are but the transient shapes of its transformations." For Zhang Zai, the primordial state of the cosmos is not true emptiness. All things come into being through the condensation of qi and return to the void when qi disperses. Throughout these shifts, its underlying essence remains unchanged. By grounding the cosmos in the materiality of qi, Zhang Zai denied the existence of any supernatural creator. He also criticized Buddhist teachings that treat emptiness as ultimate reality, insisting instead that qi is a concrete, continuous mode of existence. The qi wielded in the wuxia tradition is a popular reimagining of these classical ideas. In martial arts fiction, qi becomes tangible, an inner power that can be cultivated through meditation, breathwork, and disciplined training, serving as the very foundation for extraordinary martial techniques. Midway through the match, Fang Shu infuses his blade with fire damage, but you ultimately prevail. As the crowd erupts in applause, a strange, insect-like parasite crawls out of his right eye and darts toward an unseen target. Fang Shu is left bewildered, unable to comprehend why he had become so aggressive only moments before. As the player, however, you recognize it at once. It is the same creature that resurrected the Void King and drove Jiang Yan into hallucination during the prologue, a mysterious parasite cultivated by Li Zuo, Emperor Ai of Tang, after his entanglement with Sun Buzi's experiments on poison and immortality. It seems that the warning the man surnamed Wei sent to Jiang Wulang at the beginning of the game was true. The dream puppets that plunged the entire Jianghu into disaster 16 years ago in 946 CE have returned. Yet what Li Zuo now employs differs from both Sun Buzi's toxin, derived from the flower-shaped fungus, and the ancient immortality parasite discussed in earlier videos. This new organism infiltrates its host silently and instantaneously, amplifying aggression and physical strength while leaving the victim's consciousness intact, so that he believes he is acting of his own free will. It poses no immediate danger to the host's life and can be effortlessly retrieved once the host collapses or dies, requiring no antidote. It is difficult not to speculate further. Perhaps the parasite Li Zuo has refined now possesses hypnotic qualities, compelling its host to obey the controller's will while maintaining the illusion of autonomy. Yet what matters now is not the schemes spun by masterminds behind the curtain. You still need to claim your prize from Old Jin, who is busy coaxing Ruby and the others into spending their money on worthless trinkets. With a mixture of reason and threats, you wrestle from him the reward he initially refused to part with. The item turns out to be a set capable of imbuing blades with fire and water damage, a craft of Mohist Hill, almost certainly excavated from one of their divine craft caves scattered across the realm. Upon closer inspection, you suddenly realize it is likely the very tool Fang Shu used during your match, when his blade briefly flared with fire. The arena, it seems, was never intended as a fair contest. It is a con devised jointly by Old Jin and Fang Shu. One lures challengers into the arena, while the other hides the enhancing tool so he can cheat whenever the fight turns against him. But their tricks hold no power over a trained martial disciple like you. As the two of you divide the spoils pried from Old Jin's hands, Ruby opens her storybook of Jianghu heroes and begins to read aloud. There she discovers a figure named Yi Dao, a warrior renowned for his massive blade, a secret manual, and, most importantly, his horse. Excited by the mention of horses, Ruby sprints to the merchant stalls, where one of Beard Guang's companions is displaying a horse trained to dance. The man appears utterly ordinary at first glance, but if one re-examines the cutscenes, it becomes clear that he is the one who owned the parasite that drove Fang Shu into aggression during your match. Merchants of the era often travelled in groups for safety, and Beard Guang had no way of knowing he had picked up someone affiliated with the Aureate Pavilion along the road. Nor did you. Speaking with another traveller, Zhao Dali, you begin to grasp just how little news has reached you over the past 3 years. Since Uncle Jiang's disappearance, Aunt Han has forbidden you from wandering too far from Heaven's Pier, and as a result, events such as the closure of the Palace of Annals never reached your ears. At the gate of the General's shrine, you notice a man kowtowing before the headless statue of the General. He explains that he is following the instructions of a booklet claiming that truth will be revealed only after one has kowtowed 1,000 times. The very same booklet you obtained from the Wayfarer. You are already familiar with the General honoured here, for he is the same figure commemorated on the memorial tablet in Uncle Jiang's hut. Uncle Jiang never told you the General's name, yet he visited this shrine often, always bidding you bow your head in respect. Next to the entrance, a boy nicknamed Rock anxiously tells you that his Tsuju ball has slipped through the cracks in the stone floor. When you move in for a closer look, you plunge into an underground passage hidden beneath the General's shrine. You recover the Tsuju ball not far from where you landed, but there's no path back upward. You'll have to find another way out. As you press deeper into the tunnels, you discover they are crawling with Tiger Fort bandits. They are hunting for the treasure of the Northern Vow, a band of heroes you first heard of in childhood tales. Some boast that they have already dug a tunnel connecting this place to the ruins of the Northern Vow's abandoned headquarters nearby. While you linger in the shadows, listening, a familiar name rises from their chatter, Lie Yan, one of the 8 heroes of Hedong. The bandits boast that Lie Yan once built an underground shrine for someone named Wang Qing, and from this they conclude, wrongly, that the Northern Vow's treasure must be hidden here. After acquiring the mystic movement skill Cloud Steps from the fallen body of a Northern Vow warrior, you press onward and eventually reach the main hall of the subterranean complex. With a blend of swordplay and the explosive fire barrels the bandits brought for their tunneling, you cut them down and advance toward the chamber's center. There, a stone stele rises from the darkness. The inscription, carved by Lieh Yan himself, reveals the truth. This underground shrine was built to honor General Wang Qing, the man who once shielded the people of Qinghe from the Khitan cavalry. After the enemy raised the shrine above ground, Lieh Yan reconstructed it below, directly beneath its former site. Following Lieh Yan's instructions on the stele and recalling Uncle Zhang's earlier reminder, you bow 3 times before the statue. At once, a hidden mechanism activates, revealing a concealed alcove in the wall. Inside rests a jar of parting tears, the signature wine of Han Xiang Swine's blissful retreat. Could Aunt Han, too, be connected to Wang Qing and the Northern Vow? Or is this the offering of someone else you know? And if so, what then was the treasure the bandits were so desperate to find? With unanswered questions tucked away in the back of your mind, you follow a narrow passage upward, emerging into one of the shrine's previously locked rooms. Outside, the sky has already taken on the colors of dawn. After returning the suju ball to the boy, you go to Ruby. When you draw near, she is chatting with the owner of the dancing horse, recounting how she once met a hero atop Moonvale Mountain 3 years ago. She had begged him to take her into the Jianghu, but he only shook his head and told her the Jianghu was no place for children. You try to persuade her to head home, but she pleads for just a little more time. Beard Guang offers to watch over her for a while, and you accept. Having known Beard Guang for years, you trust him. With Ruby safely in his care, you turn your steps toward the path ahead, to the place the bandits mentioned in hushed excitement, the ruins of the Northern Vow. At the front gate of the ruins, you spot a man named Lieh Bujin peering anxiously into the darkness. From him you learn that although the Northern Vow failed to repel the Khitan invaders more than a decade ago, their treasure supposedly remains untouched within. You step inside and, unsurprisingly, find the ruins crawling with tiger-fought bandits. At the center of the old drill ground, a bandit named Jianghu Bao is interrogating a captive, Lieh Bumi, demanding the location of the Northern Vow's hidden treasure. You intervene to free Lieh Bumi. He entrusts you with the map, your key to uncovering a hidden passage that descends into a second underground complex, far more decayed than the shrine beneath the general's shrine. Once again, you find the corpses of Northern Vow warriors. After navigating several puzzles, you finally reach the terminus, a mound of bodies lying quietly beneath a shaft of sunlight filtering through the cracked ceiling above. At the top of the mound sits Lieh Yan himself. Among the fallen, you find his old greaves, and beside him a gutsin he crafted for his friend Gu Lei, another of the 8 heroes of Hedong. These tokens confirm what the scene already makes clear. You have found the resting place of Lieh Yan and his final stand. In the chamber behind him, you discover Lieh Yan's final letter to his family. Beside it lies a roster of names, signed by the warriors who died at his side during their last stand against the Khitans. Yet something is wrong. 120 men defended this place, but only 119 signatures appear on the list. On the wall, an inscription declares their unwavering resolve to guard their homeland even in the depths of despair, and to lay down their lives without hesitation. When the Khitan forces pressed toward Ching Ha 15 years ago, the warriors of the Northern Vow held the line for months, until, outmatched and surrounded, they chose to perish with their enemy. There was never any treasure, only the bones of heroes and the stories they carried, waiting in the dark for someone to find them. Returning to the surface, you learn that Lieh Bumie and Lieh Bujin are not merely brothers, but Lieh Yan's sons, which is why they travelled here from Harvestful Village. Lieh Yan had a daughter as well, Lieh Boxi, who followed her brothers despite their efforts to leave her behind. You can find her elsewhere in this region. Lieh Bujin explains that when his brother was captured by bandits, he fabricated the rumor of buried treasure to lure Jianghu wanderers to the ruins, hoping to use the resulting chaos as a cover to rescue Lieh Bumi. You hand the brothers the roster you recovered from the underground base. They immediately notice what you did. One name is absent. The missing man is Cui Xiaojin, Lieh Yan's sworn brother, the Lieh family's closest friend, and a warrior who had joined the Northern Vow alongside him before disappearing soon after. Rumors claim that Cui became a deserter, but the Li siblings refused to accept it. To them, Uncle Cui, the man who once shielded Lieh Yan from a mortal strike, could never have been a coward. What exactly happened back then? Somewhere along the main road between the encircling lake and the jail at Ching Ha, you encounter a man hauling a coffin behind him. He claims the body within is that of Cui Xiaojin, his old comrade. The two had once stood shoulder to shoulder on the frontier as members of the Northern Vow, and now, he says, it is his duty to bring Cui home to Harvestful Village. But when you reach the village, you find only distrust. The families of the fallen who settled here refuse to speak in defense of one believed to have abandoned his post. With nowhere else to turn, you seek out the Lia brothers. Lia Bujin is pleased by the news, yet startled that any veteran yet survives. Back then, all who guarded the gates were believed dead, save Uncle Cui alone. When you bring him to the old man, he confirms that the corpse is indeed Cui Xiaojin. Only then does the old man finally reveal the story. Cui died on the road after receiving a secret mission from Lia Yan. During his journey, he encountered a defenseless Khitan soldier. The man refused to take part in the slaughter, and Cui, against all instinct of war, spared him. Not long after, a Khitan pursuit squad caught up with them. Cui was killed. The deserter escaped. That deserter is none other than the frail old man you met at the beginning. After the war, he remained in Ching Ha, living quietly as a Han person. He recovered Cui's body long ago, but never dared return it home, fearing the surviving veterans would recognize what he truly was. Only when death closed in did he find the courage to begin the journey. He left his wife a letter, at last revealing his past. When you deliver it, she tells you she had known the truth for years, yet chose to live as though she did not. Now it is time to return home. You head back to the general's shrine in search of Ruby. She tells you to go on ahead, only to remind her father, Uncle Joe, the manager of Aunt Han's blissful retreat, that she will return later with Beard Guang. You then speak with Beard Guang, asking whether he has heard any news of Uncle Jiang's whereabouts. But there is nothing, not a single rumor, not the faintest trace of the bounty hunter Jianghu Lang. He returns the book you once entrusted to him, and after exchanging a few final words, the two of you part ways. Thus concludes the first episode, Another New Wing.